Okay, so I think we are good to go. Okay, so my name is Hitesh and I am Android development, app development mentor in DSC City. Along with me, I have Yukti, CHDSC lead, Arvind, management lead, and Anjali Parihar, who will be telling you the basics and basics of Kotlin and Android Studio today. So let me tell you the how will be the session. Like there will be session will be in three parts. First, I will be telling you about the program, like what Android study gems are and what you will get, how to proceed, and everything about that. And second part will be the basics of Kotlin, like what are the basics of Kotlin, what is the syntax, and how should we start. And third part will be of Android Studio. Like if someone like we have many registration from first year and second year as well. So we will be telling each and everything about Android Studio from very scratch. So like I can see in chat box, many of you have typed intermediate. We will have intermediate session next session. I hope. Now, but today we will be the session will be totally for beginners. Okay. So. Uh, I hope every one of you have joined the Android Study Jam WhatsApp group, and if you can check the description of that group, you can see the Code Labs link. Okay, so I will be sharing my screen. Just a minute. Yukti, can you confirm my screen is visible?
Yes, Satish, it is visible.
Okay, so on clicking that Code Labs link, you will see this thing. So let me tell you about what Android Study Jams are. It is basically a program started by DSC India, and in this there are two tracks: new to programming track and prior programming experience track. On now on clicking new to programming track, you will see these two units. First is Kotlin Basics for Android, and second is Layouts. And these are some batches. And when you hover over it, you can see the name of the batch, like first step in the Android Studio or Dice Roller app. So on completing the code labs, you will and code labs and quiz, you will get these batches on your developer's profile. Similarly, in second track, prior programming language experience, you can see these two units here. There are some intermediate topics like layouts, navigations, fragment lifecycle. I will take one or two overview of one or two so you can understand. Now how will the program will run? Like program has already started from November 25th and it will run till January 25th. So till then you have to complete both of these tracks. Both of these tracks means these all six batches you have to earn, and these all 10 batches you have to earn on your profile. And after earning these batches on your profile will look like this. Like there will be all the batches on your profile, and on you need to send me the screenshots of this profile so I can just verify that you have completed both the tracks and you will be eligible for the whatever prizes or things are there. So basically the regarding the swags, on completing both the tracks, there are swags in the form of certificates. And if you are build while learning the Kotlin and Android, if you have built some good app or great design or layout or anything, those apps will be featured on DSC LNCT page website. So these are some things, and on completing both the tracks, you will be eligible for the certificate. Let me repeat it. Like if you complete only new to programming track, you will not get the certificate, but you have to complete both the tracks. Okay. So any questions till now? Please resend the links I previously shared. These are the links for study gems. If you have any questions, you can ask me, or I should continue. Just give a thumbs up in the chat box so I can know you are getting everything. Okay, cool. So let's start with some code labs. How will you have to? Uh, is there anyone from first year? And how many of you are from second year? Let me know. Okay, so Gajendra, can you turn on your mic for just a minute? Let's have some informal talk.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so like, have you started this Android study jam? This thing, have you completed some tracks?
I have watched some of the videos in like track 1, unit 1.
Okay, so have you understood like how is the content? Are you able
So,
to get what it is taught there?
like, yeah, the content is very good.
Okay, so if you are facing any problems or anything,
Not yet.
okay, so like for you have started from basic now. You have directly started Kotlin or you have already done Java.
Not. Yeah, I'm beginner.
Okay, okay. So like for beginners, it is good now. Like if
Yes.
yeah, and have you downloaded Android Studio?
Not yet, but I have downloaded previously, but I uninstalled because of
Okay,
some
okay,
my laptop issue. Yeah.
okay, okay. So have you seen the UI of Android Studio? Like it contains lot many features.
Yeah, there
Very
are
of
many. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think you must be afraid like what these features are, what is the project structure and everything now.
Yes.
Yeah, so let me tell you that in this session we will be telling those small things which the beginners will be facing, like the Android Studio you have installed and uninstalled. Okay, so we will be telling some things about Android Studio, like how to create a project. We will also create a small project, a small app like just a calculator or anything like that, so you can know how to proceed. Okay,
Yeah, it will be very good.
yeah. Anyone else who want to have a talk, you can just turn on your mic. No, don't hesitate. Okay, so let's start with something. Yeah, hello. Who is
सर
this?
मेरा नाम हिमांशु है और मैं सेकंड ईयर का हूँ।
Hello, Himanshu.
सर मेरा क्वेश्चन बेसिकली ये था कि मैंने एंड्रॉइड्स पे कुछ प्रोजेक्ट्स किए हुए हैं
Okay,
और मैंने जावा को उसमें यूज किया हुआ है बेसिकली।
okay.
हाँ, तो मैं अब नेटिव ऐप बनाना चाहता हूँ,
Hmm.
लाइक यूजिंग रिएक्ट नेटिव। सो मुझे स्विच कहाँ करना चाहिए कि रिएक्ट
I
नेटिव या फिर मुझे कोटलिन पर भी काम करना चाहिए?
I think we can take this question at the end of the session.
ओके
Okay. Yeah, or
ओके
either you can, if you are added in that group, you can just ping me this your queries. I will. Uh, uh, okay. Okay. Let me start with something. So I will tell you like how you have to do the code labs. If you are, you can just start with click on this, and there are multiple things. You can just see the video here and get some idea. Then you can see these. Let me start with any else. Okay. So first you can watch the video. You can get some good knowledge, basic of basics, and okay. So here is another video, and this is something. Take a code lab. So you can just take the code labs if you want, and there is a very well documented thing. You can just see and do here. After that, you have to take the quiz. Are you guys able to see my screen? 50.
Yeah,
Can
visible.
you? Okay. And after you have to take the quizzes. So now how you have to take the quizzes, like and the quiz the questions are from the code labs itself, like what the previously what are from you have learned from the video and code labs, you have the questions are regarding it. So if you want to come like what is program, so you can just choose the correct answer. Which keyword do you use to define a function in Kotlin? So we will be telling these things just in 5 minutes. Okay, so you can just choose the correct answers and you can just click on submit. And after submitting, you will get a badge on your profile. And to view your profile, you can click on this settings button here and on developer's profile. So you can see your profile and all the badges you have earned, they will appear here. Just make sure that you are getting all the badges here, because at the end of the program, after completing the both the tracks, you have to send me this screenshot of this developer's profile, so I can consider you for eligible for these tags and certificates. Okay, so Yukti, can we start the second part now?
Yeah, sure. We can move on.
Yeah,
Second
and
part.
if do you guys have any questions regarding the program, like regarding Android study jams? One thing I forgot to mention, like there will be 3 sessions. This is the first session. Second, we will be having 3 sessions, most probably on alternate Sundays or every Sunday after this. Okay, so there will be 3 sessions, and the program will run till 25 January. So till 25 January, you have to complete all the both the tracks and send me the screenshot of your profile. Okay, so I think we are good to go with the second part. Hello, Anjali, are you there?
Yeah. So hello everyone.
Okay, Anjali, you can continue.
Okay. So am I audible?
Yes, yes, you are.
Okay. So my name is Anjali, and let's start with the Kotlin basics. Okay. So before starting, you people might have a query in your mind that since we are having Java, so why we are switching to Kotlin, right? So let me clear that. The very first reason being that Google has already announced Kotlin as first support language for Android in 2017 itself. So now they are left no reason to not to get your hands dirty in Kotlin, right? Okay. And the second point is it speed up the development by making your code much simpler and easy to read. Okay. So we can keep ourselves safe from writing all those boilerplates which we were used to writing in Java. And it's way more concise than Java. Okay. And since there would be lesser boilerplate, so you people would be lesser prone to bugs and there would be lesser UX crashes. Okay. And it's basically easier to maintain and it's been created to boost the productivity of the developer. And the very main or the very big advantage of Kotlin is its type and null safe. I'll definitely elaborate this point when we'll be dealing some hands-on in the Kotlin. Okay, and these points, these are some of the theory points. I'll be definitely explaining each of this point in the exercise. So, are you people getting me right? Am I audible, Hitesh?
Yes, yes, you are perfectly audible, and whatever you are telling, it's completely understand. We are getting it.
Okay,
And
okay. Thank you, thank you. So now, for the people, like one of the query was like he is coding in Java. Himanshu, you are coding in Java. So if the people who already knew Java, so there's no issue. You people might have question like, should I completely switch to the Kotlin or should I completely stop working on Java? No, you can continue working on Java, but what you can start is you can start adding Kotlin to your code. Okay, you can start adding Kotlin. You can start leveraging the Kotlin libraries in the Java code itself, and this is the very good feature of Kotlin that it is interoperable. Okay, you can code in Java and Kotlin side by side. Okay, so this is clear. And now let's start with some of the features of Kotlin. Like for any programming language, when you start learning, you learn variables, functions, iterators, there's collections. Okay, so we too will be doing that. Let me share my screen. Is my screen visible?
yes, yes.
Okay. So we are on the Kotlin playground. Okay. I'll suggest you people to have either pen or paper with you, or you can follow me along with whatever exercise we'll be doing. Will be really good. Okay. So this is like the default function we are having in this playground. Okay. So what you can see on the screen is this is for the very beginners. Okay. We have this fun keyword over here, and this fun keyword suggests that this is a function. Okay. Followed with the function name main, and we are having this bracket. And since these brackets are empty, so we are not having any parameters inside it. And as this curly brackets start, we have a function body. And we want this function to print some value for us, and this is what? Hello world. This is what you can see, and you people might have already known that it would print this. Okay, so let's start with the variables. Okay, so we have two types of variables basically, mutable and immutable variables. As the name itself suggests, the mutable variables would be the one which can be edited afterwards. Okay, so you have this var keyword. Let me declare this as 2. Okay, what I did here is I assigned an integer value to this variable a. Okay, this is what I did. But how someone else would get to know that what type of data this a can hold? In order to let them know, I can declare it, or I can declare the data type. Okay, like this. This is a val keyword. Another thing what I have is a val keyword. Okay. Let me print both the values. Just A, just B. Okay. Great. Now, at certain point of time, suppose I am having a very big code base, and at certain point of time, I want my A to get changed. I want, okay, I want my A to get incremented by 2. This is what I'll be doing. Let's see what happens. This A is getting incremented by 2 and it's 4 here. Now I want my B to not get updated by anyone. So I want it to get constant, okay? But if someone tries to edit it or someone tries to reassign the value of B, let's say I want to increment it by 3, let's see what will happen. Well cannot be reassigned. This is the error we are getting. Okay, I just wanted to know if you people are getting me. Just please write in the chat box.
Basically, she is trying to demonstrate the difference between the VAR and VAL. In Kotlin, we have two types of variables. First is var and second is val. So the one with var, it is we can change its value, but the one with val, it is just like constant in any other programming languages. Okay. So are you guys getting? You can just put a thumbs up in the chat box. Okay, Anjali, you can
Okay,
continue.
Abhishek. Okay. So, there's one more feature of Kotlin, that is Kotlin is a strongly typed language. Okay. You can see the two types of declaration here. A itself is a variable and C itself is a variable. But what I'm doing here is I am telling compiler that it is of type int explicitly. What actually means by strongly typed is we do not explicitly need to declare the data type, but the compiler itself infers that since the value assigned is an integer type, so the C would be of the data type as int. Okay, so let's move ahead. We're over with the variables. Okay, let's keep it as it is. And now let's move to the functions. Okay, since we are having a function main already here, suppose I want to add two numbers. Okay, I'm having one number already as A. I'm having B as this. I'll be creating another function, and this is how I structure my function, or this is how I declare my function. Okay, so these would be the parameters here. I'm having two parameters here, and what I want this function to do for me is I want this function to add the numbers I have given to it, okay, and return me. So I want A plus b. Okay, so I'll be calling this function from the main function, and I'll be passing a and b to it. You can pass as many parameters to the function, or you can even keep it blank. And since I'll be returning a value, okay, I want my function to return something. And what is that something? This something would be a plus b. And what is the type of this a plus b? Since a and b both are integers, so their addition would also be an integer. So I want to return value of type int. This is how it works, 2 and 5, and it's giving me 7. Okay, like similarly, if you want any of your functionality to be done by any of the function, you suppose you want subtraction, you want multiplication, or you want to get, let's say you want to get maximum of 2 numbers. Okay, so this is one of the way to define a function's body by braces. There's another smart way to do is, let's check it. Okay, since Kotlin is a functional language, okay, so functional programming language, so you can treat every function as a variable. I'm treating this max function as a variable, and I'm assigning it a value. And what value it would be? If a is greater than b, a, okay, else b. So we're calling max from here. Okay, so 5 is greater than 2. Good going. Now we'll be heading towards some of the condition. I think functions are clear, right? You can means whatever operation you need to perform, you can change your body, means change the body of the function according to that. Okay. Is Kotlin similar to Java? Yes, just a simpler syntax with some extra features. Yeah. I hope you got the functions. Okay. So now moving to some conditional statements. Since we already have one, that is if else, but we'll be looking on it more, and we have one more, that is when. Let's do that. Okay, so I want a function to, suppose I'm passing a variable. Okay, let's say that is a function called describe. Let me right. I'll be passing an object to it. Okay, that's again a smart way to do. This is a when keyword. Just in a minute, I'll be telling you what this function is actually doing. Okay, I just want to check what type of object is. Okay, whether it's a number, whether it's a string, or whether my compiler could not know what type it is. Okay, so let's check if the object is number. Okay, sorry, I'm just writing the wrong syntax. So if the object, this is just similar to the switch statements which we used to have in Java and C and C++. People can correlate. It's a number. What I want to return is object is a number. Okay. If it's a string, one thing to keep in mind here is whatever conditions you need to check in when block, you must have an else statement here. And if it is not known, just return unknown. Okay. And since I'm returning something, and what I'm returning is a string type, so I need to have. Okay, so I just need to mention here object is of what type. Since I don't know object is of what type, so I'll be telling here it is any. Okay. So I have variable A, it is of int type. Let me have one more variable that is string. Let's say this is a string. Okay. So I'll just call describe and pass it A. I don't know what type of A is. The function would tell me. Okay. So I hope it is correct. Number. Okay. Object is a number. Now I'm passing string to it. I don't know what type of string is. This function would be telling me. Object is a string. Or just type it as get type. Okay. So this is how the when block works. Okay. So is it clear, the when block? You can write in the chat box if you're clear with it. Or if you people have any doubt. Okay, so no doubt?
Guys, you can continue, Anjali, you can continue.
Yeah. No, you people can really ask the doubts if you have or anything you didn't get on any line or anything. Okay, so let's move ahead. This was the conditional statement. Now let's move to the iterables, okay? Iterables, you people must have heard about for and while loops. So we'll be dealing with it now. Just get over with this function. So iterables basically will be looping over through an array, will be looping over through a range, we will be looping over through a string or through any of the collections. Okay, whenever you have a structure having some sort of data, you can always iterate over through that structure in order to get individual data. Okay, so let's say I want to print numbers from 1 to 10. Okay, so for I, this is basic syntax of for loop. Now since I want the numbers be from 1 to 10, this is how the range is defined. 1 to 10 in a separate line. Sorry. Okay. This is a range. Suppose I'm having this string S. I want each of its characters to be printed in a separate line. So for I in S, we're looping over through a string. Before that, we looped over a range. Okay. So we've been done with range. We've been done with string. Now let's take an example of array. Okay. Let's say I have an array of, let's say, languages. Okay. Say I am having Russian. Okay. I want to loop over this languages array. Okay. Just looped over. Okay. What else you can see here is, we are using a for loop here. So there's another way. Okay, this is just a one-line for loop, but in future you might deal with the loops which have a perfect body or a huge body. So in that case, what you can do is we have another way. We can use a for each function. Yeah. So this is for collection, and I'm having this as array languages what I want here is, okay, so this is an empty function. I want this to be done here. Print. Okay. This is another way of doing the same thing. So I'm commenting this part. This is how we comment in Kotlin. Okay. So there's one more thing. This is a single line comment. Okay. Single line comment. And when I want a whole block to get commented, I'll use this syntax. Okay. What issue I'm getting here is reference type. Okay.
Anjali, you need to use
Yeah, I just
bracket after for each. It's a function now.
yeah. Just no.
It's not working.
Okay, so we'll come to it later. No issue. Definitely come to it later. Okay. So moving ahead, we have collections now. Okay. Okay. So we dealt with collections like array. We dealt with string. But these are the collections of which stores the data of similar type. This is an array. You can store the data of similar types. You can store the data of integer type. You can store the data of string type. But what if I want a structure, or what if I want a data structure which stores the value of different data types? Okay, suppose I am having an employee, okay, and I want to store the data of employee. So what could be the properties of employee, or what could be the features of employee? Employee definitely would have a name, would have an age. Okay, so name would be of type string and age would be of type int. So I cannot use an array to store that data. Either I can use different variables like name separately and age separately, or what I can do is I can deal with list. So for list also we have two types of list, that is mutable list and immutable list. Okay, so let's create a list. List of say 1, 2, 3.
Anjali, after collections, I think we can start with our next part, that Android Studio part.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so I have okay. Okay. And what is the difference between the list and the mutable list? Now let's deal with the mutable list. Okay. What I can do in mutable list is at the time of running or at the time of iteration, I can insert values, I can delete values, I can update values in the mutable list. This is what the main difference is. So it will do the same work. Okay. Yeah. So Hitesh, we can proceed to the next level.
Yeah. And before proceeding to the next level, are you guys interested in having a quiz of 5 or 6 questions? We can take a quiz from Code Labs. You can just respond to if you want to have a quiz, you can just write there yes. Okay, we can continue to Android Studio.
Okay. Okay, so I'll be creating an Android application from the scratch itself. Okay, so we'll be choosing an empty activity and we just need to give a name to it. So we'll
Till
be
then,
building.
she is giving the name. Let me tell you what an activity is. In our daily life, we use many apps like WhatsApp or Instagram or anything. So what happen when we open an Instagram? Like if we are not logged in. So when we click on the icon, we see a page. You can see say a page with 2 text fields, name, email or username and password. So that particular thing is known as an activity. When you click login, you are redirected to another page which consists of the feeds, so that is another activity. Okay, so this is what an activity is. We also have some other thing like fragments. So what fragments is, when you open your WhatsApp, you can directly see 3 things: chats, status and calls. When you slide you can see one over another. So what the fragments are, they are some part of the screen. Okay, you have connected to a activity. Like complete WhatsApp is an activity, and when you are sliding over chats, status and calls, these are separately are fragments. So hope you all get this. You can continue, Anjali.
Okay, so let's give a name. Let's give an application the name. I'll be using the Kotlin language. This is the minimum SDK. Okay, so this is what tells us. Suppose let's say I choose Lollipop. Okay, so this says that your app will run on approximately 94% of devices. So my application would not be run on the versions below this API 21. So I need my application to run on most of the devices. In that case, I'll be use the minimum of it. Okay, so till the time it is building an app, building the Gradle, I'll tell you some features. Okay, so you are seeing 2 files over here. That is main activity, and this is an XML file. So we'll be making changes in these 2 files only over the period of time like this. Okay, so I'm having a layout file, means whatever you see on an activity. Okay, activity is something which you interact with. Okay, and I'm having code split design. So I can put widgets on this activity either by just drag and drop. Let's see this like this, or I can code it. I prefer mostly code. So in this session, I'll be doing that. Okay. And in main activity, the main responsive part means if a user interact with any of the widget or any of the view, what should happen after that interaction, we'll be coding this in this file. One more file we do have, that is the resources file. And we basically would have layouts in this resources file, and whatever colors we want to give, whatever animations we want to give, whatever images we want to add, we'll be dealing with all such stuff in the resources file. Okay.
And Anjali, you can just open the manifest file also, so that
Yeah.
I can describe it. Okay, so whenever you create a project in Android Studio, you get this Android manifest.xml file. It is predefined and it is maintained by the Gradle. So what Gradle is, in below you can see Gradle running and Gradle. So it is like it is an automation tool. Like it handles all the dependencies. If you want to add some external libraries or anything, you have to just mention the link to that, and Gradle will automatically download it. And what I can say, it can automatically write the code where it is required. So you just have to use, you can directly use it. You don't have to uh, put it manually. You can open Android Studio, Anjali. Yeah, and you can just show them the Gradle file from below. Okay, app level. Okay, one more, upper one, project. Okay, so this is how your Gradle file looks. And here you can see multiple repositories like Google and JCenter. So these are some things, like there's a column dependencies and class path is given. So these are the things like the your project will be using. So have you didn't have downloaded this what Gradle 4.0.1, but it has automatic, Android Studio has done it automatically. So this is the benefit of using Android Studio. You can create a similar structure like you can see on your left side in app manifest folder, Java folder, then some subfolders inside it. You can do it manually also. But what is the benefit of using Android Studio is that it can automatically handles all the things, and you just have to focus on what you are building. And Anjali, can you open Android manifest.xml file? So yeah, so this is Android manifest file. You can say it is the heart of your project, because each and everything is mentioned here, like from where your activity, from where your project will start, what is the icon of this your project, what is the theme of your project. Okay, and how many icons for a project you want. Like there, if you install an app, you get one icon. Okay, and when you click it, you can open your app. But if you want to have two or three icons on installing an app, you can do that also from here. So like if you want to add any permissions, like whenever you install a new fresh app, you see a pop-up comes like this app requires location services, or this app requires internet permissions. So these all the things you can mention it here. Like after the before application tag, you can just write permissions. Anjali, can you show that? You can just add an internet permission there. Yeah, yeah, uses permission, and you can write the, yeah. So this is how you add the permissions. You have to mention all the permissions you are using, whatever features, like if your app is using internet and SMS, external memory, or location, find location. So all the permissions you can see from here. You can just press control and enter, or alt or enter. So you can see all the permissions, and you can add from here. The another thing in this, you can see in application tag, like Android icon. So here you can manage the app icon. And where is this icon? Where it is inside the mipmap folder. So it is present in resources it is a subfolder present in resources subfolder. So what is the label means your the name of your app, so it is calculator. Then round icon, like if you are using multiple themes, when you change the theme, some themes have round icons or rectangle icons. So each and every type of icon is put it under this drawable or mipmap. Now the theme, you can maintain the theme also from here. You can, so that like nowadays you can see there are multiple modes, like dark mode or light mode. So you can manage from here. Now the another important thing here is that each and every activity you are creating, the data will be here. Like the manifest file should know that how many activities are there, and from where it has to start. So if you remember, when we created a project, we selected an empty activity, and named it main activity. So you can see here that there is an activity tag, and the name of the activity is main activity. Now what is intent filters? The intent filter means what your that this is the main the name of the activity is main activities. What are the special things or applied on this particular activity? So you can see here that here is we have added a category Android name, android.intent.category.launcher. So this is what this mean is that if you have multiple activities in your app, then this on whichever activity if you will apply the filter, this launcher filter, then your app will start from that particular activity as only. Okay, so if you apply it on login activity, your app will start from the login activity, or if you apply it on help activity, your app will start from the help activity. So I have speaked a lot, so I want to know that you guys are getting something or I am just speaking. Can you please put a thumbs up? Or anything you want to ask regarding the Android Studio, what I have told you right now. Himanshu, Mohammed, Nihal, Sharaz, Surbhi, Utkarsh, you can respond. Anjali, I think we should continue. You can just start, show them the app.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, good.
Okay. So you people might have got what these files are. So we'll be starting with the layout first. Okay. So let me tell you that we'll be building a calculator app where we would be having two edit text where the user can enter the values of A and B. Then we'll perform 4 operations, that is addition, subtraction, multiplication, division on those two numbers, and we'll print the result. So this is what we're gonna do. Okay. So let me tell you how it would look like. Okay, so let me tell you the design part, how it works. So for to edit text, you can have them like this. Okay. Okay, so first thing is we are working on a constraint layout. Okay, so this is a parent layout. And while working in constraint layout, for each view, you need to adjust it with the parent. Okay, with the parent and as well as with other views. So this is a thing which we should keep in mind when we have so many views and we need to build a simple layout. So we'll be building a simple layout where we would be having 2 edit text, okay, and below that we'll be having 4 buttons and all those things. So you people can imagine that for a single view, if I need to adjust it with the parent and with other views, then what would be my condition if I'll be doing that with all of the views? Okay, so that would be a redundant thing for me, doing the same task for every view. So in that case, I'll be using a linear layout. I'll be definitely telling you why I'm switching from constraint to linear layout. Okay. So people might have got the idea what we're gonna do. Split it so you can see side by side what we are doing. Okay. Okay, so by default, we need to give, so we need to give orientation in the linear layout. So by default, the orientation is horizontal. That's the very reason why we are getting all of them aligned in the horizontal manner. The very first thing I'm going to do is we'll change them to the vertical. Okay. So I'll be having, remove all of these things. Hitesh, can you please say the text sizes like
It's
is
okay.
normal?
It's okay.
Or
Yeah,
should I
it's
increase
okay.
it? Okay.
Yeah, no, it's okay.
Okay. So what I want is I want an edit text here. Okay. It's match parent here means it will cover the complete width of the parent. Okay. And this is what it is doing. Let me bring the hello world. Okay. Let me take the height as wrap content. Wrap content would be like, it would take the space only as much the text size is. Okay. It won't take more than that. So this is a self-closing tag. This is a hint. Hint means what you would see, what text you would see before entering any value. Okay.
It's
So
like an placeholder. The
yeah, it's like a
placeholder.
placeholder.
Anjali, you can add another edit text by drag and drop, so they can know that thing also.
Okay.
Now you can see that we have got one edit text. There is we have typed the code and we got one text. We have another thing. We can just drag and drop from here, and we can edit all the conditions, all the things about all the properties of that particular view from here. Like we have manually typed it match parent and wrapped content. We can just select from here also. And each and every thing what we can do from this window, we can also either type or either we can just select from here.
So let me give it as a hint as the placeholder as enter B. I want the name to be there, so you can see it. So it also has a width of match parent, and I want the height to be wrap content. So instead of coding it by hands, you can just drag and drop and you can set all the attributes of that particular widget here itself. Okay. So the next thing we're going to do is we'll be adding a button. What I'm giving as match parent, match parent. This two is a self-closing tag. Okay, so I want to add the two numbers. Okay. Okay. So you can see that all of this, my views are getting shifted to left. I just want them to be in the middle. What I can do is I can change the gravity to center. Okay. So this is
These
right.
are some properties that every view have. You can learn these properties from Google. Like there are many number of properties. So either you can see from the window that when we were drag and dropping on the right side, you have you can see the properties window. Either you can see from there and you can experiment. And one important thing, that don't get afraid by seeing all this. It's all about the practice. Like you have to experiment the things. Like when we are using constraint layout, you have to experiment that what happens when you are just taking two arrows, or like you are constraining it only horizontally or only vertically, what happens, or you are not constraining it anywhere. So like what will happen? So you have to experiment on it Okay.
Okay. You know, every widget has certain features, like it has width, it has height, what text you want to see on the button, it has that. Okay. So you can even change the color, background color of, let's say this. Okay. Okay. So here you can see that this is a boundary of a linear layout. Okay. This is because my layout height is wrap content. So this is what I said now. It will take the height only. It will take the height to the what I can say is
Whatever the size of the text will be, whatever the size is required by the text, it will take that proper size.
So I want that to cover the complete screen. So what I can do is, this is a match parent, so it is completely covering it. Okay. Okay. So after performing this 4 operations on A and B, I want my result to get shown. So I can use a text view widget here. Let's have it as match parent, height as wrap content. Okay. Okay. With the hint also. Okay. You can do as many operations. You can change the size of the text. Okay, let's say I just did it 5 dp. That's okay. So this is it in the layout. We can change many of the things, many of the features like colors, font size, font style. We can do as many things. But firstly, we'll focus on the functionality of the app that is performing the operations. Okay, so what I'll be doing is I'll be performing all the things here. Means I want A, I want B, and I want to perform any of the operation on A and B. How I would be using them here? Okay, how I would be using them here. So in order to do that, I need to give IDs to each and every view. Okay. Okay, what I can give it as B. Okay, this is the problem. I'm already having it. Button add.
I think we can give ID to just one button and we can add it, complete the app.
Yeah. So you want me to delete this 3 other buttons, Suresh?
No, let them be there, and we can just perform the action on only one button.
One button, okay, right. Okay. So now what I want is I want that A and B to be main activity so that I can add them or subtract them. Okay. So in order to do that, first thing I'll be doing is I'll be using late init here. Late init basically what it does is it will tell compiler that I'm not initializing the variables right now. Okay, and surely I'll be doing that later on. This would be my responsibility. Let's take the edit.
Are you guys getting whatever is written here? Like there were 5 or 6 lines of pre-written code. So let me explain it. So it's the basic syntax of Kotlin, or it is similar to Java. Like we have a class and its name is main activity, and we have like whenever we extend the class in Java, we use the keyword extend, but in Kotlin we can just use that semicolon, that colon symbol. Okay, so app compact activity is extended by main activity class, and here is a pre-written function on create. So you can see the keyword fun there. So it is written override fun on create. So this on create function is already written somewhere, but we have overridden it. Like whatever we will write here, that code will run. So now if you might have one question, like whenever in every programming language we have a main function, but here we don't have a main function, and how will this app will run? So let me clear it. Like in Android, it's a framework. So the program starts from the on create function. So whatever things we do in main function, it's done here in on create function. So it is automatically provided. Now we can do whatever things we want, like see Anjali will do. So you can see. Okay.
Okay, so this is of type edit text. So we have 2 variables. Edit text B. Okay. I'm also having one button. Button add. And I'm also having one text view to show the result. Text result. It is of type text view. Okay. Now, in order to refer this views there, I need to connect them to their IDs. Okay. So this is I'll be doing here, and the way to do is I'll be using a function find view by ID.
like what basically find viewer ID means. Anjali, can you open that XML file?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, not this one. Activity main.xml file.
Sure.
Yeah. So you can see here there are multiple buttons. Like you can see a add button here. But this add button is we have made this add button in XML. And now how will you that Kotlin code know that which button is this add button, which button is this subtract button? So we have provided a ID to each and every button. But the button still remains of XML. So we need to give a reference to the button in Kotlin. Uh, we have to refer it to the button in XML. So we will do it using ID, and for to do it we need to use the function find viewer ID. Anjali, you can open the Kotlin file. Yeah. So like we have created here a button. You can see that edta, we have used a variable name edta, edit text. It is of type edit text, but this edit text is of Kotlin, not of that XML. Now we have to give the reference to this edta of Kotlin. So we will use the function find viewer ID, and inside as a parameter we have to pass the ID of the button in XML. So it we can connect both of them, and we can apply the Java or Kotlin code on this edta button. Hope it's clear. Okay, you can continue.
Okay. So the ID we have given to edit text A is this edit A. Okay. And for edit B, the similar way, okay. I'm also having one button for addition. I'll be having a text view, and what ID I'm given to it, not given yet. Okay, text result. With the help of this function, I'll be referencing to its ID. Okay, good one. Now what I want is, I want the text in this edit text to be here. This is how I'll extract the text from the edit text.
Like you need to get the whatever it is written in XML, whatever it is written in that edit text, you have to get it. So it's a simple thing. You need to use a function like get text. But this get text and set text, like get or set, these words are used in Java. Here we can directly use text or set text. Okay, you can show them.
Okay, so this would be of type int. Okay. Okay, let me tell you, let us do something else. I'll just clear that. Okay. I want the text from it. Edit text would by default have the values in string format, but I'll be performing operations like addition and subtraction, so I'll need a numeric value. And how I would do it is to convert it to int. First thing I need to do is to a string, then to int. Okay. Now, since this is not needed because Kotlin is a strongly typed language, but I can. Similar is the case for B. Now, I need to, when this A and B, when we get this A and B, we need to perform this operation. Okay, so how we'll do it? Whenever the user will click on add button, subtract button, or any of this, we want this functionality to happen. Okay, so let's say the user click on this add button. Would I refer it here? And I have a reference of that add button here in this BA variable. So we have a function here. Whenever someone clicks on any of the widget, we have a function called set on click listener.
So what set on click listener do is when this set on click listener function is called, so whatever code you write inside this set on click listener function, it will run when you will click that BA button. So this is how the things are done. It is similar to what we do in Java also, or in any other language. We have to apply this click listener to each and every button.
Okay. Okay. So what I want when a user clicks on add button is to add these two numbers. So let me have a function called add, which will take two variables. Define this function over here. Okay. And just after adding these two numbers, I'll be returning a plus b. Since I'm having a return statement here, so I need to mention it. Okay. Okay. So once I get this value, let me take it in the result. I want this result to get printed on this text. Text result dot this the value.
You can directly use set text method there.
Yeah, I think it's not working.
You can type it. It's there. Now it will work.
Okay. This is what I've done. Let me explain this once again. I just created two edit text here, a button and a text view where the result will get output. Just get the reference of these two text views here, the reference of button, the reference of text view. And when the user clicks on the add button, what will happen is we'll call the function add, we'll add those two variables and give result. And what we need to do is we need to print that result on this text view. Okay. So let me run this. Build it.
And let me tell one. Anjali, can you click on this? Yeah. Code. No, let it be. I am telling one good thing. Like if you have built a code in Java and you want to change this to Kotlin, you do not need to do it manually. You can do it directly with the help of Android Studio. So either from a code menu or from build menu, you can see option there. You can just refactor your code from Java, and on a single click, it will be converted into Kotlin. So this is a good feature. You can just use both languages together also, or if you want to change it or migrate to Kotlin, you can do that too. It is built, Anjali, you can run it.
Okay, so by the time if you face any of the issues, you can check it in the log section. Okay, so if you get errors, you can check it here. okay, and all of the things. When you're debugging it, you can check it here. You'll get the logs here. See. So I'm running it on emulator. Okay.
What happened?
Okay, I can try it again. Okay, so
We have got an error. You can click on it.
for inputs, okay, so null format exception. Okay.
Yeah.
So what we can do here is we can check okay, so we must have a check here if a is not equals to null. So this is a string a, let's say it as a string a. Variable a. Basically what I'm doing here is, since it is taking the string or text from that edit text and it's converting to integer, but what if the user does not enter anything? Okay, then that would be an empty string. In that case, you can't convert an empty string to integer. Okay. Similar is the case for B itself.
Okay, so by the time you are typing the code, let me answer the question to Sir Saharsh. He has asked, how do we break a code line in Kotlin? So, to break code lines in Kotlin, the code you can just press the enter key. So line break is enough for it. Or if you want to use semicolon, you can use that too. They are optional. So I think line breaks are enough for code breaks. Code Okay, code line break.
So you know you can see that I'm writing both of these blocks outside this function. Okay. So what I can do is when a user clicks, I need check that time only. Okay. So let me
Okay, so we can just explain it manually. No worries, you can just open the emulator site by your site. Okay, so like here is some issue with this emulator. Okay, so like when we have applied a button click listener on that BA button, so we have fetched the value of A and B, and on on clicking that BA button, this function will be called, and whatever you have the operation you are performing here, those operation will show out those like those lines of code will be executed. So at the end we have written there that set text. You can show that set text. Just click once.
Yeah.
थोड़ा नीचे scroll करो. Yeah. So like on line number 37, you can see the txtr.set text a plus b. So what this will do, that this will just add a and b and show it on the third text view, that result text view. So here we are having some that issue with our emulator, so we can't show you today. But in the next class, we will be having a totally hands-on session, so we can show you there. Okay. So like if you guys have any questions, you can just ask us. You can stop presenting. Okay. We don't have any questions. So should we wrap up? Saraj, I think you were from the beginning of the session. So Anjali told the benefits of using Kotlin. Like it has multiple things. You don't have to worry about the null safety. Like if you either you have to check manually that if your string is equals to null, you can just put there a exclamatory mark, and it will handle each and everything about the null safety. Like if your string is null, it will handle the exception. So these are some this is some one of the benefits, like, and you don't have to put semicolon everywhere. So these are some benefits of using Kotlin. Okay, so Yukti, do you have anything to say?
No, I think everything is clear, so you can just wrap up the event now.
Okay, so you guys can complete the both the tracks, and you can ping me whenever it is done, so we can provide you the certificates. And thank you for the session. Okay.